Okay, who here hasn't been to space? Why? You better not throw up on my ship.
Approaching jump in 3, 2, 1.
What's up? What's going on, fellow fanatics? Welcome back to another episode. In this episode, we're going to be reacting to episode 5 of Moon Knight. I have been waiting all week for this episode. I know everybody else has too. This episode, I think, is going to be psychologically crazy more than anything. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into this episode, and we'll give you guys our thoughts right after.
It's all your
Calm down, Mark. Mark, I didn't shoot you. Fantasy that you've created on your own. That you're some kind of, I don't know, superhero.
Which one is that?
Doing everything and everything. You're not really a doctor. Is that why you keep starting imaginary fights in our hospital? You're not a doctor.
That's not
Jake.
That's not Stephen or...
I feel like a real doctor.
Who is that?
That's all right.
Because he's got a...
Tell me, how did you come to be here today? How did you get here?
That's Jake.
I took the bus. You want to
God, so even his mannerisms are different.
You told me that you were in a place that was oddly reminiscent of this office, except that it was in Egypt, right? And that you were with a rhinoceros and you're right. You're right. It was a hippopotamus, and but it talked. Do you think that is sense or nonsense? You were talking to me about a boy. Do you remember that boy? You think you could tell me about that little boy?
I mean,
Yeah.
they must pay you a lot of money in this place.
He has a completely different accent.
I'll tell you what, I feel like $1 million. Never felt so good. I want to see myself out there.
It's like it's his New York accent. It's Jake.
Yeah, because they're there. I mean, he's probably totally different.
I was gonna say, is that why he's in this office still? Because
I mean,
he's the
well,
actual
in the
personality
comic,
present.
in the comic, they all, his mind is like a prism, and they all go through their own doors, their own different journeys. So that was probably Jake's journey.
Okay, here we go. Welcome, gentle travelers, travelers, to the realm of the Jewel. You'd be surprised how many intersectional planes of untethered consciousness exist. Like the ancestral plane. Oh, just gorgeous. Anyway, I do actually have
Wakanda.
cards for all this. Just wait.
Right through these doors, for example. We go through here, there's going to be a bunch of patients, and there's Crawley, probably about to yell at me.
If your hearts are balanced in life, then you will spend eternity in paradise, the field of reeds. But before we get there, I've just got to do a quick little. Oh, goody! It worked. Look at that.
Sorry, what? What's she doing? She's weighing our hearts on the scales of justice and the feather of truth. What if they don't balance?
You get thrown overboard. Whee! The dead will drag you down into the Duat.
Kill the hippo, steal the boat.
Hello.
Why is he doing that?
Ahmed be there.
I don't know.
No, you get sent to Ahmed if your heart is not.
But isn't Ahmed tethered to the plane?
No, Amit's in the underworld. They're
Okay,
not, yeah.
This boat contains all of a life's memories. Now, I don't know what you two guys have been hiding, but my advice, get in there and show each other the truth.
Give this man Oscar Isaac a fucking...
I don't know about you.
He deserves all the awards for this.
Get out of there. I don't know, it's the street. You know, how many streets have you walked down your whole life? Just a creepy calf filled with dead bodies. That's all it is. No prizes. Guessing whose room this is. Yours. Funny.
Yeah, that is creepy.
Goodbye. Come on.
People he's killed.
What, do you know these people?
I think so.
kept wishing I'd fail. One of them would kill me instead. The healing ended up being a curse. Fuck! Who's that? Mark, why is there a child in a room filled with people that you've killed? What's your name? Oh, hold on there. Wait a moment. Wait a moment.
Can we give him 2 Oscars? One for each role? He doesn't even look the same in the face at all.
Who's ready? Who's hungry? Roro? Mom, come check out my drawing. You drew the fish with only one fin. Mark, be nice to your little brother.
Oh, the fish with one fin.
Boys, we're down too long.
Good catch.
Hey, Mark, what do? Keep an eye on your brother, okay? Later, skaters. Wild crocodile.
Later skaters. He said that to his
Later skaters.
to his mom when he left her messages.
Yep.
Can you get that, Dr. Glenn? I sure do, Russell. Sounds to me like danger.
Stephen Grant.
Mom said not to put it cleaning. It'll be fine.
Khonshu toy. Khonshu.
Well, that was just a bird, a dead bird skeleton. It's a symbol of Khonshu, yeah. That's so sad.
Is it all
Oh my god.
your fault? It is all your fault!
You'll never forget that. Dude, what the fuck? That's so sad.
Stop, don't go up there! Wendy, please. We're just about to blow out the candles now.
Oh, it's his birthday and she
She's
didn't
not
come to.
coming.
She's upstairs.
That's why she's still not answering the phone in the first episodes.
We'll do it just you and I this year.
She doesn't. She holds it against him for not saving his little brother. And he still tries to call his mom in those beginning episodes. He leaves her voicemail.
Steven!
That's sad as hell.
You were always jealous of him.
I should have known something like this.
What are you doing?
I didn't expect this show to hit me in the feels.
Mark, son, please come inside. She will get help. And we will fix this. You're supposed to fix this. I mean, why haven't you?
Damn, Marvel. This is
Yeah. This is it.
This is
Where Leia's dad dies.
Yeah, back in Egypt.
oh, okay. Well, then this is the
Where he
origin comic story. Then
Turns out going AWOL in a fugue state gets you discharged from the military. Didn't have a ton of options after that, so I went work for hire for my old CO Bushman. The job was to raid an
so they
Egyptian
did
tomb.
mention Bushman.
Called for no witnesses, and I couldn't live with that.
Yeah.
With them, Dr. Foley, they was that. No, I didn't make it. Clearly.
Well, I'll give him credit. What an effective way to handle his entire origin story in like 10 minutes. Like
Really,
10 fucking minutes.
really, and they did a really good job of like this is accurate.
Yeah.
What a waste.
All your brains out at the base of Khonshu.
I am the god Khonshu, in search of a warrior.
I want it. Good luck with that.
To be my hands, my eyes, my vengeance. To be my final word against the evildoers.
Didn't it happen in reverse where he kills himself and then he's in the asylum
The
against Khonshu?
mind.
Or Khonshu reach out to him.
I
Fractured.
thought Khonshu reached out to him after
Broken.
Right.
Most fascinating. You are a worthy candidate to serve me during this time. In exchange for your life, do you swear to protect the travelers of the night and bring my vengeance to those who would do them harm.
Snaky old vulture.
Do you swear to protect the travelers of the light? Then rise. Rise and live again. As my fist of vengeance. As my Moon Knight.
Unbalanced souls are being judged and condemned to the sands before their time. Oh, this is bad.
It's happening.
Can you send word to Layla? Please help us free Khonshu. Please, Howard, you have to help us. Please.
What the heck? Cyrus is not going to like this. Oh,
I like the way they do them.
We don't get back, and Harrow succeeds, and all those people die. If Layla dies, it'll be all your fault. No, you can't! I won't do it! I won't do it! You can't! Stop it. Stop it.
Yo.
Do you think you created Stephen to hide from all of the awful things you feel you've done in your life? Or do you think Stephen created more to punish the world for what your mother did to you? Do you know? There can be no progress without understanding. Can you do that? Can you open up to Stephen?
Open this door.
Bloody hell. Look at the state of this place. Better sort it out before Mum sees it.
Boy, open this door right now.
Stephen Grant has no fear. You made me up.
Open the door right now. You're gonna learn. To listen. Why do you have to be
Let me see what she did. Let me see what she did.
disgusting?
You're not going to see that. You're not meant to see that. That's the whole point of you. Well, you want to remember the truth? That you had a mother that beat you? That hated you? That made your life a living hell? And no, you just trying to upset me. But you got to live thinking that she loved you, that she was kind, that she's still alive.
Oh, she's dead.
Talking about she's alive. I speak to her every day. What are you talking about? No, thank you. Let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out! Let me out! Oh, God, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Stephen, I'm your doctor, remember?
This is the first time Stephen's been in the room.
Doctor.
I'm here to help.
Dr. Harrow, yeah? Is it?
That's right.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Wow. Well, you've really gone up in the world, haven't you?
I was beginning to worry to speak.
It's so strange. Little haircut. Little silly tash there. It's very Ned Flanders.
Stephen,
What's the way up to now?
it's my fault. I asked. What do you feel that he lied to you about?
Who? Nosy?
It's just, Stephen, when you first came in here, I was worried you were never even going to be able to.
Not true.
Oh, I'm so. I must.
Are you having a laugh as well? Because I don't want to hear it.
Stephen, I must.
You say that again. My mother is alive. You say that again, I will freak out. I
That
promise.
must be a mistake. Okay. Would you like to speak with him? What do we call him?
But you don't have a number, do you?
Yeah, we have it on file. Well, then let me just get to him.
No, actually, don't do that.
It'll take 2 seconds.
Don't bother her.
Hey, Dylan. Yeah.
Don't
Could you
bother
call
her.
Mrs. Grant, please?
No, she screens a call.
I
She
know,
won't
just
answer.
call.
She's afraid of telling sales
Sure,
people,
she'll
so she...
talk to you. Sure, I'm sure.
Dude, this episode is breaking my heart.
What? Well, it's all again. No, I know I did it again, but I don't know. I'm looking down the street. Kind of a bit like Mayfair.
Yeah, he's not on the phone.
Sorry. This is it. You were just a child. Was it your fault? Hey, did you feel that?
Skills balanced.
I think we just stopped.
Our journey has come to an end. I cannot stop the inevitable. I'm just really rooting for you guys, but the unbalanced souls of the duo now must claim yours.
Come on. New York, goodbye. What's that? Was that cricket?
All right, Steven.
Let's go, Steven.
No, not Steven.
Isn't it instant sand or something? Frozen in sands of time?
Stop the boat! Stop the boat!
The scales are balanced.
Oh, he's in the...
No! Wow!
Well. I can definitely say it tugs at your heartstrings. This episode definitely tugs at your heartstrings. Trey, I'll let you go first. What do you think of this episode?
It dawned on me about the time Steven first went into the room with Haro that this version of Haro, now the other two were so standoffish to him, which we haven't even talked about that new personality yet that we saw, which we did see a new one, but like Haro, that version was helping him the whole time to understand what he needed to do.
Right.
And was trying to get through it and get through who is the real one of you, how to line him up, which is weird that it'd be Haro that does it. Well, Haro's, the significance in his mind like that, that blows my mind. And I think this was one of the most effective ways I've ever seen, especially in Marvel, to convey someone's backstory. That was heartbreaking.
It really was.
And that is
really
kind of what I mean about, like, Moon Knight doesn't pull punches. The story's very raw. I mean, as far as what it goes to, it showed parental abuse. It was, just dealing with the traumas it dealt with, and I think he said it best, the actor himself, before the show came out, where he was like, we're really going to deal with what this mental disorder is.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta digest what I just saw.
Right. Q, what do you think of this episode?
I mean, first things first, shout out Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen an actor do. Like, whereas to playing even though we only saw the third one for a little split second, it's like you can still tell, like, that is a different person. So it's, like, interesting and fun to see him do all this with these 3 different personalities, even though we're mainly seeing 2 of them. From the jump, they've like you said, they've been talking about how they're gonna get on the mental health aspect of it and everything. And I think they've done it well in the first 4 episodes, but this episode I think defined what they wanted to do with the show and I think this episode put out the image that they wanted us to see. I think that just seeing how he deals with everything, like, this was the origin of his personality disorder, of how he created Steven to deal with how he doesn't want to know that his mom's beating him. He disassociates himself with it, creates another person who I guess at the time was like a Dr. Stephen Grant that he saw on a poster or whatever, so he looked up to him and stuff. So it's like, that stuff is very real, and it's just so interesting to see him honestly hit the nail on the head. Like, so I'm interested to see where it goes and everything, but that was good. Raw.
It's very
everything. Like,
definitely on the touching on being a child. You know, children and I'm not an expert in DID, so I don't know. But just from what I've read, from watching Moon Knight and things like that, children deal with trauma, and when you're dealing with trauma, or whether it's a child that is abused or what have you, they'll create a splinter personality to cope with the reality, you know, of everything that's going on. So seeing him create that personality about 10 years old, it looked like maybe 10, 12, somewhere around that
you
realm.
gotta think about how he's feeling at 10 years old too. Like, his little brother just died, and then on top of that, his mom is blaming him for it, essentially.
But this went on for years.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the big thing, because I read a thing about a doctor talking about when you, and this isn't like spanking children necessarily, right? But it is like when you are more physically rough with children. In our mind, an adult's mind, you think, well, this is happening because of this. But a child's mind cannot process things like that.
Right.
It is instinctive, endorphins kick in. It is fight or flight response starts because they don't understand concepts. So, and there was a reason they showed multiple birthdays. She hated him so much. Those beatings were not new. That's why he locked the door. That's not your mom. That's not your mom. He knew. And he went through so much. I said when the first time they ran upstairs, I said he'll never forget that.
Right.
And he went through it so much that this isn't just, you can have a traumatic experience and block it out. Doesn't mean you make a separate personality. He had to make this to continually deal with this until he was 18.
Right.
Joining the military, and he told his dad, you should have fixed this. So from like 10 to 18, he is told it is his fault his brother died. He is beat by his mom.
Physically.
He fully had to develop Steven just to exist.
Right, and you know what? That brings me to something that I was just thinking here, now that I've had kind of time to think about things. I think that the third personality, Jake. Okay, so in the comics, for those of you that do not know, because I know that some of you comment on our video saying thank you for the comic explanations because you haven't read that comic, but in the comic, just Moon Knight comics in general, he has 3 personalities. It's Jake, the cab driver, who's got his ear to the street. Yeah, his 3 main comments. It's Steven.
Steve billionaire.
Yeah, Steven's the billionaire playboy that funds everything, and obviously Mark is the mercenary. So with that though, what I think that the MCU is doing different from the comics is I think that the Jake personality, because when we first saw that personality in episode 3, we heard Steven say, Mark, what did you do? And Mark said, I didn't kill these people. And Steven's like, I certainly didn't kill them. So that's when we all kind of assumed at that point, wow, they could be bringing in Jake. Then we saw the sarcophagus in this last episode, and then we even saw the accent being different, even the callback to the comic with the strip over his nose and everything like that. That was perfect. Again, they're doing great of taking the page to the screen.
Right.
Seeing that, I think what's happening with Jake, I think Jake was manifested while
he was in the military?
No. While Mark was even a child. Because, and this is why I think that because Jake obviously is vastly different from his, in the comics, seemingly what they're doing. It's going to be different from the comics. In the comics, like I said, he's a captor over the ear to the street. In this, looks like he's the more aggressive personality.
Right.
So if he's the more aggressive personality in this could have been a way, while he was getting beat, you know, everything that even though he was saying, that's not my mom, that's not my mom, that's not my mom, even in that, as a child, you're still going to feel anger. That anger's going to brew. And when that anger brews and it erupts, that's when the Jake personality comes out.
Right, especially when you have no outlet. No way to... What are you going to do? Hit your mom? Like,
right.
He wasn't going to do that. It was his mom. And I see that, but what I think is very interesting with it, and this will be what I'm curious about, and if that's true, is why was it so important that he aligned things with Steven, but not with Jake? Why did Jake's existence not matter to his soul?
But then why, when Steven fell off the boat, why did the hearts align? Because I think it maybe had something to do with Jake's heart in that as well.
It's
because
possible.
I also think too, because if you remember, my mind's kind of going now. If you remember, they did not say, or did they? No, they did not say how his mother died. Could it have been while she's beating the shit out of him, Jake came out because, you know, the anger, the brewing, and maybe he killed his mother. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, okay, so what he did
Jake
say
killed his
there,
mom?
he was in, he'd already been working with Khonshu at that time. Because, well, no, all he did say for sure is he said, I couldn't face her after all that I had done. When he was drinking, and he was talking to Jake, they were talking about it, and I was assuming that would mean as Khonshu's avatar killing people, but I mean it could also be something that. Well,
then again, what you just said, he said I couldn't face her after all that I had done. Maybe what he's thinking is all that I had done is the 8 years of her blaming him, and him coming to terms, you know, thinking maybe this is my fault. It is my, you know, he even said it is my fault. I shouldn't take him in there. So maybe that's what he meant by I couldn't face her after everything that I had done.
Well, and Jake is the second thing to that. The most interesting thing to me with Jake is Khonshu knows who he is.
Yeah.
Khonshu knows, and he hasn't said a word about it. Khonshu was watching when he's torturing these people, when the knife's in the dude. He's watching the whole time.
Right.
He didn't. Mark and Steven are both confused. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Khonshu's sitting there.
Right.
Like, this is not something new to him. It wasn't like, well, what happened, Mark?
So is Steven not just gone forever now?
He can't be.
Yeah, he's
no way.
So he's not just stuck in sand.
No. I think in episode 6, I think they're gonna get Steven back.
Well,
let's
go
Jake's
into
gonna
that.
be
There
very
is so
prominent
much
in this next
I
episode.
did have a question for y'all too, but first I'll say there is so much they have to accomplish in this next episode. Like getting Khonshu, getting Jake, you know, staying Moon Knight, if they're going to stop Haro. But the question that I had for y'all is, so like in the blip, we saw in multiple different iterations of, you know, throughout the MCU, different movies and TV shows where the blip affected things. What he's doing on Earth right now, I wonder what it's doing or what it's affecting within the giant scope of the MCU.
That is my question for the whole entire giant scope of the MCU. You know, in the MCU, we've already seen the people of Earth 616 have now seen Khonshu do what the hell he did with the sky in episode 3.
Right.
We've seen Arishem the Judge literally ascend upon the entire Earth. I mean, they've seen Thanos' snap. They've seen Haro's all these lives and things like that.
Well, they've seen multiple alien invasions at this point.
Right.
They saw what was going on in Spider-Man Far From Home.
I think at this point, the people of Earth 616 was like, oh, just another goddamn day.
Well, no, I don't mean it like how the Earth's going to respond.
616.
What I just mean though is, let's say, just like let's say Multiverse of Madness, for example, right? What if they just offhandedly mentioned? Remember when people just started dying left and right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if you
remember,
even in No Way Home, Asgard was mentioned.
Oh, New Asgard.
Yeah, the new Asgard and all that
Oklahoma.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, and all that stuff. So it's like there's a lot that everything's going to be mentioned or referenced or tied in. But it's kind of like one of those things where, again, I think that DC's Young Justice handles this very well. Where it's like where people say, well, if this was happening, well, why didn't Spider-Man come? Because it was in New York. Or why didn't this person come? Mm-hmm. Well, it's because, actually, it's even mentioned in Far From Home. Where he was like, can you get Thor, off-world, Captain Marvel, busy.
Come on, there's gotta be someone else you can use. What about Thor?
Off-world.
Okay, Doctor Strange.
Unavailable.
Captain Marvel.
Don't invoke her name.
You know, they're not. All these heroes are not always just like waiting by the phone like the fucking Powerpuff Girls.
Right.
Like, oh damn, Mayor, what's going on? You know, that's not.
I'm bored today.
Yeah. So it's like there's so much that is going on, and there's so much I think that is going to be connected and talked about and everything.
I would just like to see if he, because it showed him accomplishing this and all these souls falling, right? Mm-hmm. If they restore them, that's one thing, right? That's like a mini blip, right? But I would just like to kind of see that brought up at one point of like...
Your wand, if that's what you're looking
You did drop your wand?
Yes.
But just of like, oh my god, people died, or, you know, I would like to see that at least mentioned in canon MCU. That'd be really cool to see it brought up.
Right. And also, too, something, too, I know more comic references here, where we kept jumping from personality to personality with a different personality being in front of Dr. Harrow there. That is, again, directly from the comics. In that comic, you are dealing with... The asylum in the comic is a prism in his mind, basically, and each door in the comic leads to a different adventure for Steven, for Mark, and for Jake, and they go on their own different philosophical whatever adventure. And again, that was perfectly done there.
I think Steven, oh my gosh, so the argument Steven made in episode 2 against Harrow, where he was like, you're going to judge them, but what if they're a baby? What if they haven't That was Steven won that argument there. Because the goddess, hippo goddess, I could not repeat her name, mentioned...
Tawet.
Yeah, Tawet mentioned these souls are being judged prematurely. And then as you saw, Mark and Stevens, it wasn't balancing, and it was tipping in the bad direction forever until after this whole long journey, they come face to face and boom. And that is Mark's argument, or that is Jake's argument, of you can't judge someone that early. You can't. Everyone has a chance to change, to learn, to develop. That's his whole juxtaposition against Harrow the entire time. And I think it's brilliant how they showed that.
Yeah, no, it's great. And the last thing I'll say about it, too, is the references to Wakanda. We have now seen 2 references to Wakanda and 3 references to Wakanda in this show. We saw it in the first episode with the book where Steven was studying Egyptian mythology, but in that book it had New Asgard and it had Wakanda on there. Then we saw the statue of Bast in episode 4, and then Tawet mentioning the ancestral planes. And I think that's cool because it's making it seem, it's like how she said, oh, that's a beautiful place, or these are all beautiful, beautiful places. It's like again, I said it watching it. Just seeing Marvel bring different cultures, afterlives, and mythologies to life. It's brilliant. It's great.
I'm honestly wondering, like, this is my last thing. He's in the field of reeds. Steven is stuck in basically their damnation, right? We don't know is this going to be a Jake heavy episode where he has to bail out his 2 idiot counterparts? Like, one of those kind of moments. Like, I need to set this right.
Well,
how's he going to get out of the field
of reeds? It's going to be very prevalent in this next episode, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because I mean, how are they, like, that's what I'm saying. There's so much they got to accomplish this episode.
So much.
Even Mark himself has to be saved.
Yeah. Great episode. Now we have 1 episode left, and then after this next episode, which is crazy to think because we will see Moon Knight next week, and then the day after, for those of us that are going to be seeing Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness on the 5th, we will be seeing that on the 5th. So there's so much, again, that we are eating with when it comes to Marvel. They're continuing to give us great content. I know a lot of people say this after every episode, but I would have to say for me, that was probably the best Moon Knight episode that we've gotten so far.
Absolutely was.
No recency bias, but that was one of the most... That was probably one of the best episodes.
I think that might have been the best episode.
Just because, like, y'all always hear me talk about, like, everything emotional. It just gets to me. Like, that's some shit that I'd want to go rewatch just because you can feel that in the TV show. Like, that's like real. Like, it's not like mystical and fake and shit like that.
Props to his acting too. When they mentioned going in the room and he's slapping his face, that shocks me.
Get Oscar Isaac his overdue reward. Give that man his flowers while he's here. So
Mark and Steve.
I definitely, like I said, definitely a great episode. Definitely so much more to come. We've got a lot going on with, like I said, Marvel. And if you did not see, Kevin Feige and crew are leaving on a retreat where they are going to be discussing the next 10 years of projects coming up with Marvel. So if you thought that this was dead, if you thought that this is ending, we barely even started. So as always, let us know what you guys think down below. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and we will see you guys in the next video.